Let's start with the hit that proved even exhibition games aren't safe. The 2007 Pro Bowl was supposed to be football's vacation day. Players cruise through plays, nobody goes full throttle, and everyone leaves healthy with a nice paycheck. Someone forgot to tell Sean Taylor. When Bills punter Brian Moorman took off on a fake punt, thinking he'd casually jog out of bounds like this was a charity touch football game, Taylor had other plans. The Washington safety launched himself like a heat-seeking missile and absolutely obliterated Moorman mid-stride. The punter flipped backwards through the air, his helmet rocketing off his head like a bottle cap. The stadium went silent. Teammates on both sidelines stood frozen, jaws dropped. Taylor didn't just tackle him, he sent a message that would echo for years. There's no such thing as taking plays off. The NFL quietly stopped replaying that footage. Why? Because it exposed the uncomfortable truth that even in their safest environment, the game was still dangerous. They marketed the Pro Bowl as family-friendly fun, but Taylor turned it into a crime scene. That hit became legendary, but you won't find it in many official NFL highlight packages anymore. Too violent for the brand they're trying to sell. But that's just scratching the surface of what the league wants you to forget. September 23rd, 2001. A date that changed football forever, and the NFL would love to rewrite it. Jets linebacker Mo Lewis crushed Patriots quarterback Drew Bledsoe into the sideline with such force that Bledsoe suffered internal bleeding and nearly died. The hit was legal, perfectly timed, absolutely devastating. Bledsoe's career in New England ended right there on the turf. Enter backup quarterback Tom Brady, a sixth-round nobody with zero expectations. 20 years and 7 Super Bowls later, that hit looks less like a football play and more like the most expensive mistake the Jets ever made. Here's why the league hates this story. It's the perfect example of how violent hits directly altered NFL history. They can't celebrate the hit because Bledsoe almost died. They can't ignore it because it created the greatest dynasty in football. So they just avoid talking about it. The footage exists, but it's rarely shown in those glossy NFL Films documentaries about Brady's rise. They'd rather focus on his draft position and underdog narrative than the fact that his career started because someone nearly killed his predecessor. The uncomfortable reality is that the NFL's golden boy got his shot because of the exact type of dangerous collision the league now tries to legislate out of existence. Speaking of dangerous hits that shaped history, Super Bowl XI, 1977. Raiders safety Jack Tatum, nicknamed the Assassin for reasons that become immediately obvious, lined up Vikings receiver Sammy White. This was football in its purest, most violent form, and the NFL loved it. Until they didn't. See, Tatum's reputation became both legendary and legally problematic. His hits raised questions about intent, safety, and whether the league was glorifying assault. The Super Bowl footage still exists, but the NFL stopped using it in promotional material decades ago. Why? Because celebrating that kind of violence while simultaneously settling concussion lawsuits sends a pretty mixed message. Tatum's hit on White wasn't the worst thing he did on a field, but it was the most visible. And visibility became liability. But Tatum's most infamous hit makes that Super Bowl collision look like a gentle hug. August 12th, 1978. Patriots versus Raiders, preseason game. Wide receiver Darryl Stingley went up for a pass. Jack Tatum met him in midair. The collision was sickening. Stingley hit the ground and never walked again. Paralyzed from the chest down, career over, life forever altered, all in a meaningless exhibition game. The stadium went silent. Players dropped to their knees. This wasn't football anymore. It was tragedy broadcast live. The NFL's response? They quietly buried the footage and pretended it didn't happen. You will never see that hit in an official NFL production. Never. The league knows that showing Stingley's injury would destroy the narrative they've carefully constructed about player safety improvements. It would raise questions they can't answer. How did this happen? Why wasn't the game safer? What changed? The uncomfortable truth is that hit forced conversations about safety that took decades to actually implement. Stingley's courage after the injury became legendary, but the NFL would rather you remember the inspiration than the cause, because the cause was their game. And sometimes, the darkest moments aren't even from hits. October 24th, 1971. Lions receiver Chuck Hughes jogged back to the huddle during a game against the Bears and suddenly collapsed. No hit, no contact, just dropped. Medical staff rushed out. They tried everything. CPR, defibrillation, oxygen. Nothing worked. Chuck Hughes died on the field. He was 28 years old. The game resumed minutes later, a decision that haunts everyone who was there. The NFL has never fully addressed this moment. The footage exists, but is almost never shown. Why? Because it's the ultimate reminder that football can kill you without anyone even touching you. Hughes had an undiagnosed heart condition, but fans assumed the tackle killed him. The league couldn't control that narrative. They still can't. To this day, Hughes remains the only player to die during an NFL game. And the league treats that fact like a closely guarded secret. They'll talk about improved medical protocols and safety advancements, but they won't show you the moment that proved those things weren't good enough. From sudden tragedy to calculated destruction. 2007 NFC Divisional Round. Saints star Reggie Bush caught a swing pass, turned upfield, and Eagles safety Sheldon Brown turned him into a physics experiment. The hit was perfectly legal, perfectly timed, and perfectly devastating. Bush's body went completely horizontal. His mouthpiece flew 15 feet. The crowd exploded. Replays showed the collision in slow motion, and it looked like two cars meeting at an intersection. Bush somehow got up and played the rest of the game, but that hit became the measuring stick for legal violence. The NFL loved it initially, showed it everywhere, put it in commercials. Then the concussion lawsuit started rolling in, and suddenly that hit became problematic. It demonstrated exactly the kind of defenseless receiver contact the league would later ban. You'll still find the clip on YouTube, but the NFL doesn't promote it anymore. It's too perfect an example of the violence they're trying to distance themselves from, while still selling tickets based on big hits. And some rivalries took that violence to terrifying extremes. 2009 AFC Championship game, Steelers versus Ravens, the most violent rivalry in football. Safety, Ryan Clark launched himself across the field and collided with Ravens running back Willis McGahee in a helmet-to-helmet explosion that left both players motionless. The sound was horrifying. Medical staff sprinted from both sidelines. McGahee was eventually carted off with a severe concussion. Clark suffered the same fate. Both players missed significant time. Both had long-term effects. This wasn't football, this was mutual destruction. The NFL showed it once, then quietly shelved the footage. Why? Because it perfectly illustrated the problem they couldn't solve. Their best players were destroying each other in their biggest games. You can't market that. You can't celebrate it. You can't even acknowledge it without admitting the game might be fundamentally broken. That hit became the poster child for everything wrong with helmet-to-helmet contact. So, the league made it disappear. From championship collisions to rookie welcome parties, Steelers receiver Hines Ward was chasing down a play when he spotted Bengals rookie linebacker Keith Rivers. Ward turned and delivered a blindside block that shattered Rivers' jaw, ended his rookie season instantly. The hit was legal at the time. Ward stood over him smiling, his trademark celebration. Teammates cheered. The NFL later made that exact block illegal. They call it the Hines Ward rule. The league quietly removed that footage from circulation because it showed them celebrating violence they would later ban. It raised the question, if it's illegal now, was it wrong then? The NFL doesn't want to answer that, so they just pretend it didn't happen. Ward made a career out of blocks like that, but that specific one became too notorious to defend. And before modern safety rules existed, running backs delivered punishment too. Late 1970s. Oilers running back Earl Campbell lowered his helmet and ran directly into Rams linebacker Isaiah Robertson, sending him flying backwards like he'd been hit by a truck. Campbell didn't run around defenders. He ran through them. That collision would draw multiple flags and fines today. Back then, it made highlight reels. The NFL loved showing Campbell's punishing style until they realized it was the exact running technique they'd spent decades trying to eliminate. Campbell suffered severe long-term brain trauma from his playing style. The league can't celebrate those hits anymore without looking complicit in his injuries, so they quietly removed them from most official content. The footage exists in grainy old broadcasts, but you won't see the NFL promoting Campbell's violent running style. It's too close to admitting they encouraged self-destruction for entertainment.